They're nothing but hate peddlers playing off fear and ignorance to turn human against alien. But I won't have it here. Not on Babylon 5. I want these scum, Michael. I want them bad.
Do my best. The problem is there's too many who agree with them and even more who just don't give a damn.
Then make them give a damn.
Love? What does love have to do with marriage?
Welcome to Who Are You? Babylon 5 Watchcast, hosted by two strangers who get to know each other while bonding over and making jokes about one of their favorite TV shows, Babylon 5. I'm Xhafer.
And I'm Laura.
And Laura, it's my turn to ask, who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you?
Do you know who I am?
Well, I'm one of those people who can't keep a surprise a secret.
Yeah?
Yeah, I struggle with this a lot. Like, my husband knows that there's about a 50-50 chance each birthday or Christmas or other gift-giving holiday that I'm just going to give it away before the time comes.
Mm-hmm.
This goes back a long ways. When I was, probably about this age that I was watching Babylon 5, little Laura.
Yeah.
My dad used to rely on me to help pick my mother's Christmas present every year because he always got her jewelry and he is a physicist. So he has no sense of like style, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one year, he took me to the big city to go to the jewelry stores and pick out something for mom. And we found her this really nice ruby ring that had, a ruby in the shape of a heart and some diamonds and the thing that was popular in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And we got her that for Christmas. And because we lived in the country, all of the Christmas shopping was done in the big city, right? So a couple days later, my mom packs me up in the car to go to the big city to pick out Dad's Christmas present.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're driving in the car, I notice that there's a ring on my mom's hand that looks awfully familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little ruby heart ring with diamonds around it that literally we just picked out.
Yeah.
And little Laura's having a tiny panic attack there in the passenger seat next to her mom, trying to figure out, what do I do? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
We literally just got her this. And so I asked, very casually, I'm sure, Mom, where did you get that ruby ring? And she said, oh, well, you and your dad picked this out for Christmas last year. And I said, I'm just dying.
Yeah.
Little Laura there with her, bad curly haircut and her, her bitten nails, because we talked about how I was a nail biter last time. Is sitting there.
I have to hear about that, but continue.
Yeah. So she's just sitting there panicking. And I couldn't, it's an hour from home in the country to the big city. And finally, I come up to this conclusion that, okay, I just have to come clean. There's no way around this. I have to come clean. And I told my mom the whole thing. I said, Mom, Dad and I just picked out that same ring for your Christmas present. And she thought it was hysterical, as moms do.
Hilarious. Yeah.
And it was objectively pretty funny. So we hatched a little plan and we went to the jewelry store where Dad and I were going to have to take the ring back to.
Yeah.
And we looked around and we picked something else,
Yeah.
that she could like, that she didn't already have. And I did actually keep that secret from my father for a while, that I had noticed and that I had told my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have to ruin her surprise because we did a bad job trying to make a surprise. We did a very bad job. And I even had a habit of like going through her jewelry a little bit before to see what she already had.
Mm-hmm.
It so happened that she had been wearing that ring that day. So the day I went through
You
the
didn't
jewelry,
see it, yeah.
did not see it. But I should have fucking remembered that we got that last Christmas. oh, well, it all worked out in the end. And every now and again, I still get called in to help Dad. And what I do is
Mhm.
I talk to my mother first and say, so when Dad calls
Mhm.
and asks me what to help him pick out, what should I pick out?
Yeah. Good plan.
Yeah, because I don't really want to relive that one. So it's definitely affected my ability to keep surprises from people because
Mhm.
I don't know. I just, if it's not super urgent matter or super important, then
Mhm.
my brain just wants to tell you. Like, if I got you a present, I just want to tell you about it.
Mhm.
I just want you to know. And that's why I am really, really, really proud of myself because for 2 weeks, I have kept a secret
Yeah.
and I'm going to send it to you now via email.
Okay.
Okay, here it comes.
Let me open up my email. That's fantastic.
Consider it a late birthday present.
Thank you.
You'll have to describe that for the listener.
This is a commissioned piece of artwork that has Laura and I as Londo and Jakar, respectively.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. Oh my god.
Super cute. I had the idea in my head, but I am not an artist. So I was like, well, gotta find an artist.
That's so good. That will actually, I have a frame that will fit perfect in that has just been sitting because I've been trying to like decorate and put up more art and things in my office space. That is perfect. Oh my god. Thank you.
You're welcome. I guess it's sort of a gift for me too. So,
Yeah.
it's a little selfish, but I hoped you would like it as much as
Oh
I
no,
do.
that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. I promised there would be a payoff to this bit.
You did. You did.
And with that, I think we could go into our episode.
Yeah, our completely lighthearted, fun episode. Yeah,
That's a check that I
not
cannot
no
pay
no.
that check. Yeah.
Season 1, episode 8, The War Prayer,
Hmm.
which is named after a short story by Mark Twain. I found out.
I felt like that was very literary. I
Yeah,
didn't Google it, but I felt like one of those things.
yeah. It's a short story that is an indictment of war and blind nationalism.
Hmm.
Little appropriate,
Yeah,
little on the nose,
it
but
feels like we're going to get some topical content in here.
Head on. Apply directly to the forehead.
we might just. Wow, this episode though.
Yeah, so I have 2 warnings for you on this episode.
Okay.
The first one is that I watched the episode as I'm doing. I'm just watching it with my husband,
Hmm.
and then I watch it later for the notes.
Yeah.
Well, I watched the episode, got into, I was in Facebook one day and stumbled upon some comments on a post that I guess there were some rumors that JMS might be hinting at another Babylon 5 series.
I saw this. Yeah.
Yeah, and the first comment that I stumbled upon was someone telling J. Michael Straczynski not to make the series too woke. And that set me off.
I think you texted me.
I might
I think you
have.
texted me because it's been like a week and a half since you recorded, and I think that's about the right time frame for the message where you're just all like, "I hate internet for like you. I hate every person on every Babylon 5 Facebook group," and I'm just all like, "Yeah, sorry about Nerd Bros. They're the worst."
Yeah, no, I just was like, then as I was rewatching this episode, I was like, too woke. This episode is hella woke, sir.
This is the most woke episode.
At least so
Well,
far.
I mean, at least so far, yeah.
Right. It's gonna get more woke.
It does.
Are we
for
just
sure.
not paying attention? I don't understand. And even in like, there was some, there's obvious topical content that you just
Mhm.
referred to by telling us about the Mark Twain story.
Yeah.
But there's even unexpected topical content that I was highlighting here. So that's my warning. I kind of went a little tinfoil hat because the internet pushed me in the wrong direction. So I'm really sorry.
As is the case. It's the internet will do that,
Yeah. Yeah. It makes tinfoil hats of us all.
right? So this episode opens on Delenn talking to her friend Mayim.
Mhm.
And I had to straight up pause as soon as I saw her face because I'm
Yeah.
all like, I know this face. Who is this person?
Mm-hmm.
And I Googled it, and I didn't know this person. She'd been on soap operas. I had no idea who this was. But I figured out who she was reminding me of, and that is the SNL cast member Vanessa Bayer.
I think unless you're Zooey Deschanel, quirky is like not really a compliment. Like I think it means like you dress really funky, but you aren't real cute.
I don't watch much SNL.
Okay, that's.
Are there any famous
are for.
skits that you can refer me to? Because I know my SNL by skits. I don't know it by people.
Probably. I mean, she was on the cast for like 7 years, and she's been in all kinds of other stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's crazy, but I thought she looked just like Minbari Vanessa Bayer.
Yeah. Well, I will review that and give you my take on it after the podcast.
Okay.
I want to point out in this scene that I feel very vindicated from our second episode reviewing the second half of the pilot, because in Delen's first opening line, she refers to Mayanne's last poem. And I was like, see, you know exactly what a poet is. You were best friends with one.
Right? Yeah. Right. And there's so much like reference even back to that specific episode in this episode.
Exactly. I felt so vindicated.
You should have.
That's all I'm saying.
So anyways, they're talking about her poem. She's like, oh, I finally finished this one from college. Oh, you remember that, haha, fun.
Yeah, sure.
And she's like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. And then she gets stabbed.
Yeah.
Which happens a bunch. I feel like a lot of these cold opens involve murder.
I feel like that Babylon 5 needs a better security system. What is Garibaldi even doing?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, that is the question Delen has after theme song.
And she is super right. I want to point
is.
out one last thing about this scene, and that is that I noticed that her wind chime is still there. So congratulations on wind chime continuity. Yeah, so she got, Mayanne got assaulted in the hallway. And my husband actually asked, he was like, why can't she see these guys? Like with that cut back and forth, you see like a shadow.
Yeah.
And then her looking like confused, but it seems like it's just an open hallway. So what's going on here? I'm really glad they answered that, because I didn't have an answer for that in the moment. And it did look very silly.
It did look silly, but they do answer it.
Yeah.
Like they do a lot of answering in this episode. There's
They
a lot
sure
of
do.
There's a lot of stuff in this episode, including that. So we get theme song, and then we get Angry Delen giving the angry boss speech about how you need to do better. And I'm just like, oh, I've given this speech before. It hit a little home a little hard.
Well, in this speech, I heard, Delen is obviously very angry about her friend's assault, her female friend's assault.
Yes.
And Garibaldi says, well, I offered her an escort and she didn't want it. And Delen tells him to do better.
Yeah.
And I heard the voice of a lot of women in the last couple of decades telling the not all men to come get their man and do better.
Do better.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So it felt really familiar.
And then he says, like, there have been 6 incidents in the last 2 weeks like this. You insist on an like, how do you let someone
or you
completely failing at his job? Yeah.
She should tell you all her routes and you post guards. You need to just post more guards or get some cameras, Garibaldi.
Why are there no cameras on this station?
And in the pilot we had the recorders that floated around. Why aren't those babies just floating in the hallways?
Right?
I don't know. Surveillance state, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's that.
I confess to spreading the rumor on orders from Goldstein that the war is not really with Eurasia, but with the East Asia.
Yeah. So then Garibaldi and Sinclair discuss the home guard after Delen leaves, and I think Sinclair refers to them as pro-Earth hate peddlers.
Hate peddlers playing off of fear and ignorance to turn human against alien. And I just exhaled and was just like, man, the 90s were wild that this could be something that's in the, the zeitgeist or culture. It seems so unbelievable that people would, use fear and ignorance to play off of hatred and make people do things that were completely inhuman. That's so bizarre and alien to me. I just can't understand how that could ever possibly happen in reality, and for them to be talking about it in the 90s, you would think, I mean, I was young, but I didn't think I was
Uh-huh.
so young to not be aware of what was going on culturally in the world at that time, like to be just have this happen and it be something that you could even put on a sci-fi TV. Okay, I'm done. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's nothing new and we just cycle through the same very general plots all the time throughout human history. I don't understand. I think JMS is a little prophetic in that way. Congrats,
Yeah, a
I
little
guess.
too.
Yeah, and then after they have their little discussion, then Jakar
Mhm.
comes and accosts Sinclair and
Yep.
has the same point of view that Sinclair
As he
is.
should. Yeah.
He says, Sinclair, you need to answer for the actions of your people, which, I mean, I get
Yeah.
it. But Jakar, I think it's interesting to note that his motivation is not about the Minbari. I think he even says
Yeah.
something like, "I don't care about the Minbari that got assaulted. I care about the Narn."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh boy, we just like missed the point, didn't we?"
Yeah.
Just went right
And
by.
then Sinclair is just like, oh, I'll just throw every Narn on the station in the brig then.
Yeah,
Like,
just
no.
whoosh. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but then we see Mayan alive in medbay, and she's
Mhm.
been stabbed and branded,
Yeah.
and the doctor's just like, oh, we can take care of it, and he's just like, no, you leave that. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a reminder.
Oh, that makes me so sad. Like, I don't know, it just gave me a lot of feels, and I also thought it was interesting that, the brand that was the symbol of hate
Mhm.
was the male and female symbols,
It did
right?
look a lot like that.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was.
What was it? Okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't 100. It looked like there might have been a little. I'm not sure if it was like the lighting or it looked like there was a little break in it because I like wrote that and I
Uh-huh.
paused and I looked at it and I'm all like, maybe it's not. But
No,
if you
I think
saw
it
it
was.
too, then okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that is interesting that would be the symbol of the hate group.
yeah, and
I'm
I get
guessing.
what it means in the universe at that time, that those
Yeah,
are
it's
2
men and
symbols
women.
of,
It's
like,
humanity. Yeah.
humanity, but then it's like, now we know so much more, what is this, 30 years later,
Yeah.
about gender and the gender binary and how, like,
Yeah.
destructive that is, and I was like, it's so interesting when you view it in this context of today, like,
Well, yeah, and
this.
even 20 years ago, like
Yeah.
it's actually I was actually thinking about this a lot very recently because FX just started putting out a show based on the comic Y the Last Man.
I feel like I've heard about this.
I read that comic as it was coming out in the 2000s
Uh-huh.
and I loved it and I'm really enjoying the show and I need to go back and reread the comic so if I just don't remember there not being any trans people in the comic then that's just me not remembering it and
Mhm.
that's on my memory but it's such a huge part of the show already and the main
Mhm.
premise of the show is that every person with a Y chromosome dies.
Yeah, I
Like that's
I
how it
was kind of
starts.
getting that from the
Yeah.
title. Okay.
Yeah, except for one guy whose name is Yorick, and
Mhm.
it's a whole thing. And so it's just like it's so interesting to me because like there's even a line with the president in the beginning where it's all like, "You haven't found any other men?" It's all like, "We found plenty of men, just none with a Y chromosome." And it's just like, "Thank you." Like it's just like the
Oh,
gender awareness
yeah.
of the show and then like there's a couple trans characters that we've seen already. And I think what they're gonna do is there was a like group in the comic that was the Amazons
Mhm.
and they're just like, oh, well, women rule shit. And so they would all like, they all cut off one of their boobs, like the old legends, to be
Yeah.
better archers, which is bullshit, by the way. But it would not make you a better archer. You just
Mhm.
hold the bow out a little, it's fine. Regardless, I think they're making that group more of a trans group instead,
Okay.
which is a super interesting and cool way to take it. And I hope it remains respectful and cool and good and not terrible. I have a feeling it's
Mhm.
going to be because they've got a bunch of trans actors in it,
Yeah.
and
If they're making
so
the effort on that
yeah,
level of actually hiring trans actors, I think that the take will probably be pretty sensitive. So cool,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Like they were like raiding pharmacies for testosterone and stuff. Like, it was a whole thing. So yeah, awareness. And it's just like, to me, it's just like with this, I'm 99% sure this wasn't in the comic. Once again, maybe it was definitely less if it was, because it's very prominent in the show so far. And so just like the amount of like growth as a society in gender awareness and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's cool to see.
Yeah. And so for plots like this, I would be excited to see a reboot of Babylon 5, like just a remake.
Yeah.
I would be happy to see these different takes and see, you know, what these moments.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we talked about it earlier too, that originally Delenn was supposed to be trans. There's a bit of that in the original bit of the show. That's why Delenn in the pilot is much more masculine.
Oh, okay.
But played by an actress. And there was going to be that transition.
In these early costumes, they definitely did not play up the fact that she has a female shape.
Yeah.
Even everything's kind of a potato sack in season 1 to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's for that reason, is they weren't sure what way they were going to take it until they had gotten a couple more episodes in.
Interesting. Okay, so where were we in the episode? Gosh.
The detainees just came in. We get a little bit. We found out that Ivanova inherited not Vanova's coffee plant.
Oh, yes. I laughed
I appreciated
so hard.
that. Yeah, that was fun a little bit. And so she goes and gets these detainees who are 2 young Centauri who are looking for Ambassador Kato. They roll off the bat. And I'm just all like, oh, that's Veer. This is going to be fun.
It was like,
right?
This is a good comedy bit. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They're the B story.
Yep.
Love
and
it.
then Ivanova is encountered by some guy and she almost cares.
Yeah. I did not have the same reaction to this as when Catherine showed up, you know?
Right. I've got notes on this guy. I had an inkling that this is where that plot was going. Because I'm like, I don't remember a C plot in this episode, because there isn't. There's an A plot and a B plot.
Yeah.
You think it's
and
a C plot.
dude.
Yeah, but it's really just the 2.
Yeah, I didn't look up this actor. I probably should have looked up the actor just to see if it was anybody of note, but I was so not into this character, I did not care.
He's so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about it as more stuff happens throughout the episode, because I'm sure you've got stuff too, but I was just like, fuck this guy. Just immediately, I saw this guy, I'm just like, no, my sense evil's going off. I don't like you.
Same. And he has a very like quasi British villain.
Yeah.
The accent thing going on in the Malcolm name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad vibes all around.
Have you ever noticed how in Hollywood movies all the villains are played by Brits?
Yeah, I think I wrote his name down once, just because he didn't really deserve one, in my opinion.
Yep.
Even at this point, I literally wrote some guy in my notes.
But we go back to the B story and we get to find out that these are Veer's cousins, and he has sort of misrepresented.
One of them is his cousin.
Oh.
It's an important distinction.
That is an important detail. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I wrote that in my notes. My Oklahoma's showing, I guess.
I would not have made that joke.
But
you can, I can't.
Right.
It's fine.
One of those things. So one of them is Veer's cousin, which explains his misrepresentation, which is very, very funny.
And they're brought before Sinclair and Londo for having stolen credit chips. And they are remanded to Londo's custody. So we cut over and some guy is up to some shit. Malcolm finds Ivanova and just finds her.
Oh, yes. He is very
and it's all like,
forward.
We used to talk and fuck. And it's just like, come on, dude.
I think she knows that, sir.
Jesus. I hope she was cognizant of it then.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh, this guy is so creepy.
It's such a manipulation move to find somebody that, you know.
Find your ex, right?
Go at work. She's basically at work, right?
Yeah.
So he finds her and then he calls up their past to manipulate her. I was just like, nah, I do not like this.
Men are trash.
Fuck this guy.
Surely Ivanova can see right through this, but she's given him a lot of benefit of the doubt, I feel like.
Too much.
Too much.
But we'll get there.
Yeah.
And then we get the bit about what does love have to do with marriage?
So Londo gets to exposition at them for a little bit and be pompous, which is his specialty. So yeah. And I think it's interesting that we should note that he says that he believes being Centauri requires great sacrifice. So
Yeah.
just being a Centauri.
And then they're like, rumble, rumble, it makes you Centauri. And they're just like, but it's unfair. So he just drinks.
Uh-huh.
And then we
Because
get
he
Garibaldi.
knows.
And then we get Garibaldi interrogating some racist fuck who I mostly just tuned out.
Yeah. I thought that it was very interesting that they coded this racist fuck there with a Southern American accent.
Yes. Yes, that was a choice that was made.
Yep. Yep.
And
Even though
then
he's a pretty generic person, but
he was pretty generic-y, yeah, but it is interesting that he does have that accent for sure. That's a good call out.
that apparently still exists in 2350 whatever.
I mean, so does Malcolm's British accent.
Stiff upper lip is key.
Well, that's true. Okay, fine. We should note that the coded racist had an illegal weapon.
Yes.
But we can't prove anything else about this coded racist.
Well, yet they're going to test the blood on the dagger, on the weapon, because the weapon is, you find someone with a illegal weapon that has recently been used, you arrest them. Like,
yeah,
you don't see someone with a smoking gun and go, oh, did you kill somebody? You're like, oh, you just fired an illegal fire. Like,
unless you're a white man.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
And in America in general, just, like in a place where guns are illegal.
We're
if you see someone who had just fired a gun.
Getting too woke, man.
It's fine. No such thing. Right. And then, so pending investigation. And then Sinclair goes to Kosh, who's watching MTV.
Oh, I was going to say Google Earth, but
yeah,
yours is good too.
He's just like, yo, aliens getting stabbed. And Sinclair is just like, hey, this TV, is this going to play Ed Lover? And then Kosh just takes a nap.
Yeah, I think that's interesting in this conversation that Sinclair's basically come here to ask Kosh for his help, right?
Yeah.
And I wondered as I absorbed that, I was like, he's asking Kosh to speak with the other races. Is that because Kosh was attacked on the station and almost died, but he didn't die, so it's okay. So Sinclair would like him to reassure people.
Yeah, I didn't die. You guys will be fine.
Yeah, I was like, this is a really weird choice to go ask the guy who almost died in the pilot to come reassure everyone that the station is safe.
I feel like we only get this so that they can bring up the bit about the encounter suits later.
Uh-huh. And so that they can show that Kosh has his eye on everybody's Ring doorbells and what have you. And that he's super mysterious because he basically fucks off right in the middle of the conversation.
Right. Yeah. Just he just takes a nap, and it's a room filled with smoke. I just assumed he was high. I've been in this room in college.
Nice.
Go check on your friend. MTV is on. They start a conversation and then fall asleep. It's definitely happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. The college experience.
Right. Ivanova gets sent a rose by Creep, who now tells her that he knows where she lives.
Right.
Fucking creepy, bro. Like,
the worst. He's the worst.
Yeah, like, fuck.
But after that, that's when Sinclair finally answers.
Yeah.
Or asks, at least, the burning question on everyone's mind from the pilot.
Where the fuck is Kosh's hand? It's a suit. What's going on? And it doesn't make sense.
I was wondering with Ivanova's reply, I was like, so basically, is she just saying that he let himself be poisoned? Or his suit doesn't do what we think it does? Or it...
Yeah.
It was very interesting that they didn't even really answer the question as much as say, hey, it could be a couple of these things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Nice attempt to address your own continuity. It made me laugh, and I give it a B+.
I appreciate it, for sure. After this, Londo is pissed at the kids and calls his wives pestilent, famine, and death.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was super interesting.
Uh-huh.
Because there's one missing there. Right? War is missing.
Well, that's Londo, right?
Well, that's the thing. Is it Londo? Because that's foreshadowing. Or is it Adira? Because that's also foreshadowing.
Oh, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't be on accident because
I mean,
nothing in this
Adira's
show is.
ghost is all over this episode, right? Because,
Yeah.
he talks about how he's 75 million light years away from
Yeah.
his
From his
wives
Yeah.
for a reason, but we saw how affectionate he was with Adira a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And basically he loved her and she chose to go away, but he's basically telling these little lovebirds who showed up on his doorstep, if I can't be happy, you can't be happy.
Yeah.
I don't know. This plot line just rings with that if I can't have it, why should they attitude. And
For
of course,
sure.
we get a nice little turnaround on
We
it.
do.
But yeah, it was another interesting topical idea that showed up in an unexpected way.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder if it was meant to be Londo or meant to be Adira.
Yeah, we'll have to analyze that when we get
We'll have to tweet
it.
JMS. Yeah.
or tweet him.
Hey, in this episode, you said this thing. Apparently, the scripts are all for sale on Amazon, right? And
I
someone
didn't know
asked him
that.
about, you can buy all of the scripts for this show.
Shit, dude.
And he had said something about how there's a lot of like extra notes about production and other things in there too. There's like stuff that didn't make it in each episode in those. So maybe that's something we got to look into. I
We
hope
at
it's not
least
too
get our hands
expensive.
on one or two, right?
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
got to. We'll figure it out.
we should do table reads.
After we get through every episode, maybe. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's what we'll
sure.
do instead of doing Battlestar
So say we all.
or something else like we were talking about.
Just keep recycling Babylon 5 until
Just
they
keep
make
it going.
until you make that remake, JMS.
Yep. Such is our burden. Sisyphus and the Babylon 5 boulder.
Oh man. I can't believe Malcolm got Ivanova to go to dinner. I'm mad about that.
Yeah, they go to Breath of Fresh Air and she got done up.
She got done up. She did her
Like,
hair. She did her
she did.
nails.
Baby, how you feeling?
She did makeup, everything. She got a nice little side bun thing
Yeah.
going on, which I didn't know was a weakness of mine until I saw this scene again. Yeah, it is a whole thing.
Yeah. But she
although
never
she
regretted
gets 'em.
leaving him.
Right, that was the best. Did you regret leaving me? One, fuck you for asking that question.
Mm-hmm.
That's rude as shit. But did you
Mhm.
regret leaving me? No.
And very, very entitled.
Just no. Just right there with it. Like,
So did she get did up because she was interested in him and, having another little fling? Or did she get did up as revenge?
the fact that they go back to her place tells us the answer to that question, and I'm not happy about the answer.
Well, okay. We'll get there.
Okay.
Because I have different opinions about what was going on there.
Okay.
So he tells her that he's decided to move here and do
Mhm.
business here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. BT Dubs. I'm just moving to where you work and live, and I'm going to live and work here now too. And remember, I know where you live, and remember, I found you on the promenade, and remember, I saw you at the air. Well, I guess seeing at the entrances.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was more of a coincidence, but just like fucking creep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that when he tells her that, though, she does chug the rest of her drink.
Yeah. Right. Like, fuck. I feel that.
Yep. But we find out that Garibaldi let the coded racist go.
Yeah.
Because he's hoping he's got this guy tailed and that he's going to attract the attention of the home guard.
Yeah.
Because we think they're here and we want to figure out who they are.
And then the racists jump the Centauri kids.
Mhm.
His cousin's in a coma.
Yeah, and we get to see the shadow suit. So it makes
Yeah.
a little more sense once we get
Yeah, we get
this
a little
part.
bit idea what's going on. Yeah.
We get to see that, there's some technology here that was active in that first scene as well.
Mm-hmm. And after this, Shakar incites a riot.
Come on, Bill. Raise more. You can be captain. I'm going to be sergeant.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the only time we get to say that in this
Yeah.
series either.
Have we
I think he
already
does this a
gotten to
couple of
say it?
times. I don't think so, but I think this is
Yeah.
Shakar's first riot. So
Yeah.
good on him.
So yeah, this is a real one of those both sides scenes because Jakar is inciting a riot, but he's not totally wrong. If we've had
I
six
would not describe
attacks,
him as wrong. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
8 now with the 6 plus the Minbari plus the Centauri. So
right,
9 people have been attacked.
right,
Assuming each one was a person of the 6 incidents previously they were singles.
yeah. It seems a little unsafe here. So
It does.
and then we cut to some Drazi attacking the coded racist with some illegal weapon or the one who
Drazi
had
punch a racist. Cool. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Big mood.
Yep.
And then Ivanova is a little drunk.
And she has to deal with the dude who walked her home and wants to stay over because he asks to stay the night, but she does not respond.
That's fair. Okay.
She thankfully gets interrupted by a work call.
Yeah.
And gets a reason to throw him out. So I was totally okay with it. My read was okay.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I'll take that read. I like that read better.
Just like for my Ivanova, just for her. And also I laughed really hard at Sinclair's face when they talked on the TV briefly and he saw someone in her apartment.
I'm sorry. We've got a problem with a bunch of racists in a riot, so
Come on, man, race more. Bring her.
Yeah.
I feel like you were cool about the whole Catholic thing.
Yeah. So Garibaldi is debriefing Sinclair on the results of the end of that riot there. Ivanova shows up and I was clapping for her so hard the way she shut down that unsolicited comment on her appearance.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Garibaldi, you really
Fuck
do
off.
have better things to do right now.
I'm telling you, he's the loudest person mentally. If Talia was in the room, she would have hit him.
Yeah. So they let her know what's going on. They clue her into all of this.
Yeah, where the hell's Talia this at? This whole episode falls apart with a telepath, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, you could have thrown her in there, but had some business about, unauthorized scan not allowed. Like,
well, even you'd know that you'd sense the invisible people. I guess I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
because
thinking
they want to
along
do
the lines
violence,
of
so they'd be loud. You wouldn't be able to tune them out probably.
Yeah. You could, if you introduced her for just a moment, then you could make that surveillance state kind of argument. And maybe that's where it would go today is her resisting because that's an invasion of privacy. Like maybe they ask her to do something that she can't do something.
I mean, and honestly, just speaking to the themes of the show in general, there is a lot of commentary on 1984 surveillance state stuff, but it is almost exclusively with the Psi-Corps.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't want to, have
ring that bell too early
and smooth peanut butter in the same show.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to keep them their own separate things. And after this, we find out Malcolm is a racist fuck too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And there was such a good cut in here. There's such a good fucking cinematic move because it starts with Garibaldi and Sinclair watching the footage, right? And it cuts to the footage. And then when it cuts back, it's them showing that footage to Ivanova.
You want to see some magic?
Oh my God, you're David Blaine! David Blaine! That one thing was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So they watched it. We're like, oh shit, that's the guy that Ivanova had in her room. We need to get her and show her this. And so they show us all of that without telling us. They just cut and she's there now.
Yeah.
And it's just you automatically, your brain understands what's happening, right? And you make that logical leap, but they do it without her being there to initially discover. So it's them showing her.
Yeah.
Super good, very smooth, very well done. Appreciate the storytelling touch a great deal.
Yeah. Bravo. I liked that. And so they're going to hatch a plot to kind of trap him since they've got an in with Ivanova.
Yeah. And I really like the other thing about this too is Ivanova's I've got one condition. And the trope here, not what we were expecting because we've seen the show and also we understand the character, but what you would be expecting as a first time viewer of the series is probably for her to be my boyfriend doesn't get jail time or something, Let's
Yeah.
spare Malcolm.
Yeah.
You know? And no, it's I'm taking this fuck down.
Yeah. It's the revenge request.
It's so
Not the
Ivanova.
favor. Yeah.
It's so her to subvert that trope. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Londo and Veer did go to visit Arya and Kieran.
Mm-hmm.
And Arya wants to stay, but Dr. Franklin wants her to go. And Londo is trying to take them away, I guess.
Yeah.
Or take her away. And Mayanne is there, the poet.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets up and she appeals to Londo's better nature and says,
Yeah.
you know, that Arya should be with Kieran, that her presence may help Kieran.
The healing process, yeah.
If it doesn't help Kieran, it will at least help her when he does pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really nice. I thought that was a great sentiment.
Yeah. No, Londo totally deserves all of the shit that he gets in this
Yes.
scene.
And I think it's interesting that she says, all sentient beings are best divined by their capacity and need for love. And Londo's response is, then she will learn to live without it.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's saying is that she will not be defined by her best, by her she will not be best. She will not be her best because she needs to follow duty instead of be her best person. And I was like, what does this say about a society?
Yeah.
And the society that he loves so much that they think that it better functions when young people aren't sentient beings.
Right.
Aren't exercising their capacity for love.
And we don't know how young these people are. We know that they refer to them as children consistently.
Yes.
They look young. We don't know how young.
Well,
we know
I think
that they're
there's
not
an
of age.
implication. Yes.
We find out later that they're not of adult age. So they're probably like, I'm going to guess equivalent to 16, whatever that would be. I don't know how Centauri age.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I would guess 16 seems right.
Yeah. So these people are not legally adults.
Yeah.
And they are both about to be married off to older, richer people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What is that? Does that sound like anything?
Right.
Yeah. This is an advanced society with spaceships, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we still using child marriage?
And after this, we get like one of Londo's most famous speeches, which is my shoes are too tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I've forgotten how to dance.
My shoes are too tight. Excuse me? Something my father said.
Yeah.
And man, every time I watch this, it's like, Veer's just like, I don't get it. And Londo's like, nor should you.
Yeah.
And there's a callback to this in later seasons. And I don't know, this time, I mean, having watched the show most of the way through, watching this scene, I straight up almost cried.
Yeah.
It's real heavy. Like knowing what he actually means and what he's actually talking about at this point, especially like you said earlier with the weight of its era so recent.
Mm-hmm.
It's so heavy.
Yeah. I think that you and I are at the right point in our lives that we both had at least one moment as well that we maybe felt like our shoes were too tight.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, maybe you've just organized your life better than mine, but
I don't think it matters how well you organize your life. Life happens around you sometimes.
Right.
And this is definitely one of those things.
Yeah. It's a real heavy scene. So well done. Well done.
And after this, we get the banquet.
Mm-hmm. So uncomfortable.
Sinclair puts on a face.
Yeah.
And Delenn sees what's up immediately. I love that this is completely nonverbal, but he like does the thing, right? And he kind of like, even like kind of turns his head towards Malcolm without looking at him a little. So like, he's like projecting his voice about his kind of like coded displeasure towards him. And Delenn is just like, oh, fuck. And just like grabs her friend in pieces.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like immediately.
I didn't read it that way. I was caught on the surface level of very uncomfortable. Like, I can't believe that Sinclair is saying these things to Delenn, who is his friend.
Well,
but you're right. She is his friend, so she would know something is up.
Yeah, she immediately caught something was up. And the other alien, whose name I forget, is super offended, right? She's just like,
Oh,
well,
yes.
like she's like upset.
Poor
And
fish lady.
Fish lady's real upset, and Delen's just like pulls her aside, like, oh, that wasn't really him. I know this guy. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
it's not like this.
I hope so, because I was like, oh, that's so uncomfortable. I don't like to see
Yeah.
Sinclair act like that because he's so different. He's
Yeah.
just so different.
He's so different. But I mean, he's putting on a face, and he's doing
Yeah.
a good job of it, probably because as a veteran, probably has some experience with people like this.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's what they're trying to say. You
Yeah.
know, there's some kind of references to that throughout the episode.
Right. But they're trying to catch Mr. QAnon right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're after Q. And so they go back to someone's quarters. It wasn't Sinclair's. I don't think it was Ivanova's. I couldn't tell based off the art. They go back to someone's quarters.
Yeah, I didn't check that.
Yeah, the airplane thing wasn't in the background, so I knew it wasn't Sinclair's. And they talk more, and Malcolm just goes hard recruitment mode.
Yeah.
He says some racist shit, and he's just like, we're going to need a gesture that puts every alien in their place.
Yeah. He goes full hate peddler.
Listen, we need to prepare now for what the globalists have planned, which is the 79 days of hell.
Oh, yeah.
Exposes that plot to, assassinate the ambassadors here on Babylon 5 and back on Earth. And he's doing so much hate. And all I could think about this whole time, I'm like tuning out the hateful rhetoric. And I'm just thinking about that line that all sentient beings are best defined by their capacity and need for love. And this chump is just spewing hate, hate, hate.
It's so important that this B storyline is this B storyline for this A storyline. It's so important because
they are entwined.
They are twined. Yeah, they are dancing around each other and never interacting. And there's commentary on the plots without there actually being. It's so good.
Yeah.
This episode is so well structured. We cut to Londo, who tells the kids they're going to be like adopted-ish by his cousin. And then, it'll be super prestigious and they'll get to learn about our culture. And then they'll get to decide what to do with their lives because their parents will be taken out of the picture. And Londo's cousin will just be like, marry whoever the fuck you want.
Yeah. I really liked that. This is Londo's like Mr. Scrooge Christmas morning moment, right? He's been visited by his 3 ghosts and he's seen the error of his ways and he does what he can to get these 2 young people who are the next generation to be able to make their own choices about love. And I thought maybe this is projecting something better for the Centauri race. Like maybe this is where we get way down the road, mind you, because we kind of know some things that happen to the Centauri race later, but this is a step toward that progression.
So after this, Malcolm takes Sinclair and Ivanova to the meeting spot with their stealth suits. They find out they're Earth Force prototypes. We get the whole deal with the assassinating all the ambassadors, not just on Babylon 5, but back on Earth.
Right.
Ivanova's just like, that's going to take hundreds of people. And they're just like, yeah, we know.
Yeah. I love the foreshadowing that this technology is the shadow suit.
Right. So good.
Like,
so good.
Where did we get this?
Where did the shadow suit come from?
Yeah.
Let's see. After this, the loyalty test, which is like, no, that's Ozymandias. This guy is not.
Do you seriously think I'd explain my masterstroke to you if there were even the slightest possibility you could affect the outcome? I triggered it 35 minutes ago.
Like, loyalty test, then the plan. That's how it works. You don't tell the plan and then do the loyalty test.
Right.
And then Sinclair gives him the softest punch I've ever seen on camera. He's just like, just barely touches this dude. But it knocks him out.
Sounded good, though.
Yeah, the Foley crew did their work.
Right.
For sure.
Did anyone go get Mrs. Fish Lady? Like, it seems like she got thrown to the floor.
Yeah.
And if I were Ivanova or Sinclair, Sinclair decks the guy.
She's like an ambassador.
Somebody grab Fish Lady? Oh my God.
And then all the racists get shot and taken off the station. They're all arrested in their like prison jumpsuits and stuff as they get taken off. How could you side with them? They're more human than you, but you wouldn't understand that. Burn.
And then
True,
she goes off to
but
drink with
burn.
the aliens.
Yep. I don't know you anymore. I never knew you. Boom.
Yep.
And that's the up.
Yeah. I love that she got to end that fight pointing the gun on Mr.
Yeah.
QAnon. Like, you know then that she's looking for revenge, not leniency for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a lot for me to unpack in this episode. I didn't feel that way after I watched it the first time. I just thought, oh, okay, we learned some important stuff and whatever. And then I got in a different headspace and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. It's a heavy episode. It's really well done. It's a really good episode. And it says a lot of important things. Not just about the world, but about society in general, which is good sci-fi.
Yeah. I mean, I just, I come back to that line from Mayanne about all sentient beings are best defined by their capacity and need for love. And I was like, so I think Londo especially needs to remember that. Sorry. Londo especially needs to remember this, because the moment you lose sight of that is the road to becoming a monster, right? And, I think that there are so many different varieties of the Christian church, right? But if you go back to the source document, if you will, of questionable usefulness for sure. But in the source document, there's statement, and I'm not one of those Oklahomans who can quote the exact place of scripture in the Bible. I'm very sorry, listener. That is not a skill I acquired. But there's a statement about faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. And love gets defined a lot of different ways in, especially that culture at the time, but the groups that forget about the love and place a lot of emphasis on the faith.
Yeah.
I don't know. What if losing the love is how we lose our, sentience?
Yeah.
So the greatest of these is love, guys. That's important, I think. And I think it's so interesting that an atheist wrote the show.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed it if we hadn't done research, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but what do we have up next week?
We have season 1, episode 9, and the Sky Full of Stars. Sinclair is abducted by 2 mysterious beings. They probe his subconscious memory to learn what happened during the Battle of the Line. That's not what the description doesn't say that, but that's what it implicates. It doesn't say the name of the battle, but it should.
So we're going to revisit the pilot again.
Yes.
Basically, look for some of those answers to all those questions we asked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember this episode.
I do.
Okay. Yeah, this one kind of went right over my head.
It's interesting. It's, assuming I'm remembering correctly, I think it's good. But there's a lot of, this is like one of the big plot heavy episodes. Like there's a lot of like world building, what is going on kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one. I'm curious if it'll be as heavy. Like, I feel like we've had
I don't think it's definitely not as heavy thematically.
I'm excited. Can't wait.
Yep. And we'll go over it next week.
Yeah. So thank you to Jeremy Siegel for our theme music. And thank you to Angry Duck Time Machine on Instagram for the artwork that I will doubtedly we will be sharing with the
I'm
audience,
sure. Yeah,
of course.
We'll put that up on our whatever our social media we end up with when we decide to start getting social media, when we decide to start releasing this podcast.
Yeah. All those things. We got
those things.
A lot to do.
There's a bunch to do.
And Angry Duck Time Machine does a lot of D&D character commissions, which is
that's fun.
I've thought this might work for that. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you need any D&D character commissions, highly recommend. 10 of 10. 5 stars, would purchase again.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent commission. I'm totally gonna get a print of it and put it in that frame and put it up on my wall in the office.
Fantastic. I'm glad you like it.
Thank you so much.
All right. See everybody next week.
See you next week.
don't know why I waved. That's 100% Laura. That's on brand.